Luke Carter stared at the red word DU until it went out of focus. It sat on the top envelope in the stack on his kitchen table. 3 more envelopes waited underneath, all with the same weight. His coffee mug balanced near the edge, leaving a brown ring on the wood. He took a sip. The coffee was too strong and already burned, but it kept his hands busy. The small kitchen was quiet. The heater clicked now and then in the wall. Outside, Portland rain tapped against the window, turning the world beyond the glass into a gray smear. The clock on the stove read 6:21. Luke pushed the envelopes aside and opened his laptop. His inbox looked the same as it had the night before. Lines of gray text, polite and final. "Thank you for your interest. We have chosen another candidate. We wish you the best." He closed the window with a shallow breath. On the screen behind it, a blank email to the mortgage company waited. He did not look at the subject line. The cursor blinked in the empty body like a tiny metronome. Crayons and a sheet of paper lay at the other end of the table where Mia had left them. 2 stick figures smiled up at him from the page. One taller labeled Dad in wobbling letters. One smaller labeled Me. A fox with crooked ears stood between them. Luke drew the paper closer so he would not spill coffee on it. His shoulders eased a little. Northbridge Press sat folded inside the stack of yesterday in his mind. The clean office, the glass walls, framed book covers in neat rows. He remembered sitting at the conference table with his portfolio in front of him, trying to keep his knee from bouncing. Opposite him, Victoria Hale had read his resume with a face that revealed almost nothing. Hair pulled back, dark blazer, a pen turning between her fingers while he talked about story structure and why children's books mattered. People online had called her the Ice Queen. In the room, she had simply seemed careful, exact, hard for him to read. He had gone home holding his portfolio like armor and trying not to hope too much. A floorboard creaked in the hall. "Dad." Mia shuffled in, rubbing her eyes with the back of one hand. Her fox pajamas were twisted at the collar. The stuffed fox hung from her other hand by the tail. "You were up early," Luke said. "The rain was loud," she answered. She climbed onto the chair next to him and tucked her feet under her. Her eyes went straight to the envelopes. "Are those the mad letters?" He managed a crooked smile. "That is one name for them." "Are they still mad at us?" she asked. "I am working on it," he said. She seemed to accept that. Her gaze moved to the laptop. "Did the book place write you back?" "Not yet." He tried to keep his voice level. "It is early. Grown-ups are slow before coffee." "They should not be," Mia said. "If they like you, they should say yes fast." He huffed a quiet laugh. "I will tell them that." She scooted closer until her shoulder touched his arm. The stuffed fox ended up on the table between the crayons and the bills. For a few minutes, the 3 of them sat in a small triangle of quiet, wrapped in the sound of the heater and the faint rain. The knock on the front door cut through it. Mia jumped. "Who is that?" "I do not know," Luke said. The knock came again, 3 short knocks in a row. Not the lazy thump of a package, not the double rhythm his neighbor always used. More precise. He squeezed her hand. "Stay here," he told her. "Do not open the door for anyone, okay?" She nodded. Her fingers tightened around the fox. Luke crossed the narrow living room, stepping over a pile of blocks and a blanket half off the couch. The door was old wood with a brass peephole that always felt too low. He leaned toward it and squinted. A woman stood on the porch in a long camel coat, hair pulled back from her face. She held a dark leather portfolio tucked under one arm. The porch light, still on from the night, washed her in dull yellow. He recognized the portfolio before he recognized her. His chest tightened. He undid the chain and opened the door a careful few inches. "Mr. Carter," she said. Her voice was the same even tone from the interview, but something about it felt different without fluorescent lights and glass walls. "Ms. Hale," he replied. Victoria Hale, who ran Northbridge Press, stood on his chipped front step at 6:30 in the morning with his portfolio in her hand. "It is early," Luke said. "It is," she agreed. "I am sorry to come by unannounced. I realized I still had this and thought you might want it back before Monday." She lifted the portfolio slightly. Cold air slid past her into the house, smelling of wet pavement and fir trees. Somewhere down the street, a truck clanged over a pothole. "You could have emailed," he said. "I could have picked it up at the office." "I could have," she said. Her gaze moved past him, taking in the living room over his shoulder. "May I come in for a minute?" Every instinct told him to stall, but there was no way to hide the state of the room. The blanket on the couch, the toys, the library books stacked near the wall. "Sure," he said. "Sorry about the mess. We were not expecting company." "I did not give you much warning," she replied. She stepped inside. The heels of her shoes clicked once on the wooden floorboards, then softened when she reached the worn rug. Her eyes passed quickly over the couch, the low shelves, the drawing tacked crooked on the fridge. Mia stood in the doorway to the kitchen, bare toes curled on the cool tile, stuffed fox hugged tight against her chest. She stared at Victoria with open curiosity. "Hi," Mia said. Victoria's shoulders eased a fraction. "Hello," she said. "You must be Mia." "Are you from the bank?" Mia asked. Luke closed his eyes for a heartbeat. He had made that joke once when he thought she was not listening. When he opened them, Victoria was looking right at Mia. "No," she said. "I am from the book place." "Northbridge?" Mia asked. "That is right." Mia relaxed. "The book place is nicer." "I am glad to hear that," Victoria said. Luke cleared his throat. "We were just having coffee," he said. "Do you want some?" "It is terrible, but it is hot." "A little would be nice," she said. "Then I will get out of your way." He led her into the kitchen. She moved around the chair without stepping on the crayons coat brushing the doorframe as she passed. The small room felt even smaller with her in it. Luke reached for another mug from the cabinet and poured coffee. The smell of burned beans filled the air again. Victoria set the portfolio on the corner of the table, near the stack of envelopes. She kept her hand on it. "You left this in the conference room," she said. "I opened it to look for your contact information." "I am sorry about that," he said. "I was thinking about a lot of things yesterday." It was not a problem. Her eyes met his. Up close, they looked paler than he remembered, sharper. "It just meant I saw something you never mentioned in the interview." He tried for uneasy humor. "If this is about my college grades, I promise I have improved since then." "I am not talking about your grades," she said. She opened the portfolio. On one side lay his resume and sample edits. On the other, a thicker bundle of pages held together with a clip. Double-spaced, corners worn soft. The title page on top read "Small Wonders." Colored dabs stuck out along the side. Lines of clean, compact handwriting tracked the margins. Victoria rested her fingertips on the manuscript. "I read your story, Mr. Carter," she said. "All of it." For a second, Luke thought he had misheard her. "My story," he repeated. Victoria nodded once. "Small Wonders." "I started with the first page and did not stop." The room seemed to narrow. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the stove clock, the patter of rain at the window all folded into a soft, buzzing blur. He looked at the manuscript. Her handwriting ran down the margins. Little arrows curved from one paragraph to the next. A few sentences were underlined, some softly, some twice with more pressure. Colored tabs marked places she had chosen to flag. "You were not supposed to see that," he said before he could stop himself. "No," she lifted one brow. "You brought it into a publishing house, Mr. Carter. That is usually a sign." "That was a mistake," he said. I meant to take it back home. It is not finished." "It is just something I have been working on for my daughter." Mia perked up at the word. "You wrote it for me," she said, as if Victoria might not have understood the stakes. Victoria glanced at her and then back at him. "That tracks," she said. "The way you write about the world. It feels like someone is kneeling down next to a child and really looking." He swallowed. His mouth had gone dry. "What are you doing?" he asked, trying for a half smile. "Are you here to give me line edits before you turn me down for the job?" "If that were my plan, I would have scheduled a call," she said. She turned a few pages. Her fingers paused over a passage near the middle. The paper crinkled softly. "The scene by the cracked sidewalk," she said. "When the boy and his dad look at the weeds, and he tells him the green is the bravest part because it climbs toward the light. That is good." Luke let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "Thank you," he said. The line right after she added, "Where you explain what the metaphor means, is not." His ears warmed. "I thought kids might not get it." "Children understand more than adults give them credit for," she said. "Trust them. Trim the explaining and let the image do the work." She tapped the margin where she had written two small words, "Trust readers." He noticed the neat curve of her handwriting, the way the T in trust leaned into the R. "I really did not intend for anyone to read that yet," he said quietly. "Why did you write it?" she asked. She asked. He glanced at Mia. She was tracing a circle on the table with one finger, pretending not to listen, and failing. "It started after her mom left," he said. "Mia had nightmares. I was trying to give her a way to think about things that did not involve monsters under the bed." Mia lifted the fox and made it hop. "There is a fox in the book," she told Victoria. "He is brave." "I met him," Victoria said. Victoria said, on page 2. Mia blinked. "You read the whole thing?" "I did." Mia studied her with new respect. "Did you cry?" Luke said. "It is a fair question," Victoria replied. She thought for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was even, but there was something softer at the edges. "There were parts that felt close," she said. "That is usually a good sign." Mia nodded as if this settled it. She slid off the chair and went to the counter for more crayons. Luke rubbed his thumb along the mug handle. I appreciate you bringing it back, he said. Really, I would have missed it. I did not come only to return it, she said. He looked up. Victoria closed the portfolio and rested both hands on top of it. Outside, a car splashed through a puddle in the street. The kitchen light hummed faintly above them. You interviewed yesterday for a senior editor position, she said. You gave us a strong sample edit. Your notes were clear, and your instincts about structure were solid. Your references were enthusiastic. He waited for the but. She did not say it. I would like to offer you the job, she said instead. It took a second for the words to assemble into meaning. You would, he said. Yes, as in a job. A corner of her mouth shifted. That is the general idea. Senior editor at Northbridge Press. Full-time. Benefits. Our HR director can go over the details with you, but I suggest you say yes. The stack of envelopes on the table seemed to lean toward him. The red dew at the top glared suddenly smaller against the possibility that had just opened in front of it. Mia had stopped coloring. She watched him with wide eyes. Does that mean we can buy the good cereal again? She asked. Luke laughed, the sound catching on relief and disbelief. Eventually, he said. Then he looked back at Victoria. I am trying to play it cool here, but I am not sure I am pulling it off. You are doing better than some, she said. We have had candidates cry in the stairwell. Give me a minute, and I might catch up. Her gaze stayed on his face for a heartbeat, as if taking in the way his shoulders had eased. Then she shifted her hands slightly on the portfolio. That is the first thing she said. He frowned. There is a second thing. Yes, it is about this manuscript. She tapped the leather cover. Small wonders. He felt the nerves crawl back up his spine. I know that is personal, he said. If reading it violated any boundary, I am sorry. I should have been more careful. You submitted an editing test, she said. You showed me what you can do with other people's words. This showed me what you can do with your own. I am not sorry I read it. He did not have an answer for that. She went on. Northbridge is always looking for strong children's projects, she said. Most of what crosses my desk is either trying too hard to be clever or talking down to its readers. Your story does neither. It needs work. There are places where you pull your punches and places where you push too hard, but the heart of it is honest. He stared at the portfolio like it might disappear. I would like Northbridge to acquire it, she said. If you are willing. The kitchen shrank again. The table, the chairs, the pile of crayons, all of it seemed part of a set built around this one offer sitting between them. You want to publish it, Luke said slowly. That is usually what we do with books we acquire, she said. Mia gasped. Like in a real bookstore, she asked. With a shelf and everything? With a shelf and everything, Victoria said. Luke could hear his heartbeat in his ears. I am not a real author, he said. I mean not like your usual people. I have never taken a workshop. I have never had anything bigger than a blog post printed. I wrote half of this at 2 a.m. so my kid would stop waking up screaming. That is probably why it works, she said. The best stories usually are the ones people had to get out of themselves. We can shape it. That is what an editor is for. He searched her face. You would be the editor. Yes. If you agree, it would be part of my acquisitions list. I would work with you directly. Mia tugged on Luke's sleeve. Say yes, she whispered, not very quietly. This is a lot, he said. I understand, Victoria said. It is your story. I am not asking you to decide this second. I wanted you to know the offer is there. She slid a business card from her coat pocket and laid it on the table beside the stack of bills. Her name title and office number sat in clean black type above the Northbridge logo. Come in Monday at 9, she said. We can go over the job details and the terms for the manuscript if you are still interested. If I am still interested, he repeated, as if there was a version of him who would not be. She picked up her mug and took a small sip of the coffee. Her mouth tightened almost imperceptibly at the taste. You were not wrong, she said. This is terrible. I told you, he said. It is strong, at least, she added. It matches the morning. She set the mug down and straightened. Her gaze moved once more around the kitchen. The dishes in the sink, the magnets on the fridge, the drawing of 2 stick figures and a fox. This is where you wrote it, she asked. Most of it, he said. At this table, after she went to bed. She nodded. Good, she said. Good, he echoed. Stories should come from places that have actually been lived in. She glanced at Mia. That helps. Mia offered her the fox for inspection. He helps too, she said. He keeps the monsters away. Victoria looked at the worn fabric, the chewed ear, the loose stitching along one seam. She touched the fox's nose with one careful fingertip. Important work, she said. We rely on your kind more than people think. Mia seemed satisfied with this. Victoria moved back toward the living room. Luke followed her to the door. He opened it for her. Cool air reached in again, brushing past his bare feet. "I do not know what to say," he said. "Thank you usually covers it," she replied. "And yes, preferably on Monday." He let out a breath that was almost a laugh. "Thank you," he said. "Really?" She stepped out onto the porch. The rain had thinned to a mist that made the air shimmer around the streetlights. "Mr. Carter," she said, turning back once more. "Yes, when you forgot your portfolio yesterday, one of the interns put it in my office. If you had taken it with you, I would not have read Small Wonders." He felt the truth of that settle between them. "I am sorry for the inconvenience," he said. "I am not." Her eyes held his for a moment longer. Then she gave a small nod and walked down the steps, her coat pale against the damp dark of the sidewalk. He stood in the doorway watching until she disappeared around the corner. Behind him, Mia called from the kitchen. "Dad," she said, "is the book place really going to put our story on a shelf?" He closed the door gently and leaned his forehead against the wood for one beat before he turned back to her. The portfolio sat on the table, its leather still warm from Victoria's hands, the corner of the manuscript peeking out from under the flap. The red dew on the top envelope glowed beside it, a different kind of urgency. Luke crossed the room and sat down. "We are going to find out," he said. On Monday morning, the rain changed from mist to a steady curtain. Luke stood across the street from the Northbridge Press building, with Mia's hand folded in his. The brick facade rose 4 stories dark with moisture, its windows throwing dull reflections of the passing cars. A painted sign above the glass doors read, "Northbridge Press," in simple white letters. "This is it?" Mia asked. "This is it," Luke said. Her fox pajamas had been traded for jeans and a purple sweater with a glittery star. The stuffed fox stuck out of her backpack nose first. "Do people write stories in there all day?" she said. "They try," he said. "Some of them probably answer email all day instead." "That sounds boring," she said. He thought so too, but he did not say it. The walk signal flashed. They crossed. Drops hit the hood of his jacket, rolled down, and slipped off his fingers when he reached for the door. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and wet coats. The lobby was small, with a concrete floor and a rug printed with the company logo. A cluster of framed book covers lined one wall. Some he recognized from bookstore windows and summer reading lists. A woman behind the front desk looked up as they entered. Her hair was in a loose knot, a pencil tucked behind one ear. She wore a t-shirt under an open cardigan, and she smiled like she actually meant it. "Good morning," she said. "Welcome to Northbridge." "Hi," Luke said. "I am Luke Carter. I am supposed to meet with HR at 9. "Senior editor," she said. "You are early." He blinked. "News travels fast." "We gossip in the break room," she said. "I am Amber." Mia edged closer to the desk. "Do you work at the book place too?" "I do," Amber said. "I am the guardian of the front desk and also the ruler of this candy bowl." She tilted a glass jar toward Mia. Wrapped mints and small chocolates clinked against the side. Mia's eyes widened. "You get candy when you write books here?" "Not always," Amber said, "but it does not hurt." Luke laughed. "Do not tell her that or she will move in." "She can move in over there," Amber said. "Desimanin mystery, idin denisti disturn, idin assessor." She pointed to the far corner of the lobby, where a low shelf held picture books and a beanbag chair slumped under a window. A little rug printed with bright letters lay in front of it. "That is our kids' corner," Amber said. "For authors with deadlines and no babysitter, you are free to use it. What is your name, kiddo?" "Mia," she said. "Nice to meet you, Mia. You can hang out there while your dad talks to the boring adults if you want. I promise not to put anything dull on TV." Mia looked up at Luke. "I will be right upstairs," he said. "You can see the elevator from here." She nodded and set her backpack on the beanbag. The fox tumbled out. She picked a book from the shelf with a dragon on the cover and sat down, legs crisscrossed. Luke watched her settle in before turning back to Amber. "Thank you," he said. "Everybody here has been saved by a kid's corner. At some point," she said. "4th floor is editorial. HR is on 3. Take the elevator, not the stairs." The stairs squeak. He pressed the elevator button. The door slid open with a sound that matched her description. Inside, the walls were brushed metal, the floor lined with gray carpet. A man in a button-up shirt and sneakers stood in the corner scrolling on his phone. He looked up as Luke stepped in. "New face," the man said. "You lost or hired?" "Hired, I think," Luke said. "Luke Carter." "Nate Diaz," the man said. He shook Luke's hand. His grip was quick and easy. "Editor. Congratulations. Hale does not usually do house calls, so you must have done something right." "You heard about that," Luke said. "The whole floor heard about that," Nate said. "She showed up at your house." "Yeah." In Portland rain, Nate whistled softly. "That is commitment." The elevator pinged. The doors opened on the third floor. A hallway stretched ahead lined with doors and framed posters of book jackets. "This is me," Luke said. "Good to meet you." "Likewise," Nate said. "Editorial is one floor up. Make it through HR, then come find us. I will introduce you to the coffee machine that sometimes works." HR smelled like paper and citrus cleaner. A woman with glasses and a neat bun walked Luke through forms and benefits. The words blurred together: health plan, vacation days, non-compete clauses. He signed where she pointed his name, scrawling itself again and again. By the time he reached the fourth floor, his hand ached a little. The editorial floor felt different. The lighting was softer. Bookshelves lined the walls. Desks sat in clusters, each one crowned with stacks of manuscripts, mugs, stress balls, photos taped to monitors. Voices murmured. Someone laughed from a nearby office. The sound of a printer came and went. Nate appeared from behind a row of shelves like he had been waiting. "You survived," he said. "Come on. I will show you your desk before Hale eats you alive." Luke followed him past a conference room where people sat around a table covered in mood boards and cover designs. A woman argued for a bolder font. Someone else held up a mock-up with a different shade of blue. "Marketing," Nate said in a low voice. "Walk fast." Luke found his new workspace at the end of a row. It held a monitor, a phone, and a pen holder shaped like a stack of books. A chair waited, turned slightly away from the desk, as if conscious of what it was getting into. "We cleaned it for you," Nate said. "The last guy left a fossilized sandwich in the drawer." "Good to know," Luke said. "Do not worry," Nate added. "It is safe now, mostly. Hale in her cave." He nodded toward the glass-walled office at the far side of the floor. The blinds were half open. Luke saw Victoria at her desk bending over a file. The manuscript of Small Wonders sat in a neat stack near her elbow, color tabs bright against the paper. "She wanted to see me at 9:30, Luke said. "Then go," Nate said. "Do not keep the chief waiting. She pretends she does not care, but she will look at the clock." Luke smoothed his shirt and crossed the floor. The noise of the office dimmed as he approached her door. He tapped twice. "Come in," she called. He stepped inside. Her office was smaller than he remembered from the interview, or maybe his nerves had stretched it out in his memory. One wall was all windows, looking over a line of trees dripping with rain. A bookshelf held reference texts, style guides, and novels that had clearly been read more than once. The desk was tidy, but not empty. A notebook lay open beside her keyboard, filled with narrow handwriting. On the far corner of the desk sat a picture frame turned so the glass faced the wall. "Good morning," she said. "Good morning," he answered. She motioned toward the chair opposite her. "Sit." He did. His knees brushed the underside of her desk. The chair was firm. "How is HR?" she asked. "Efficient," he said. "I signed so many things I am not entirely sure I still own my own name." "That is part of the charm," she said. She picked up a file folder. His name was typed on the tab. "You officially start today as a senior editor," she said. "You will have a mix of front list and back list titles. We will ease you in, but I do not believe in keeping people in the shallow end for very long." "Understood," he said. She slid a packet of papers across the desk. "Here are your first assignments. One is a middle-grade mystery that needs structural help. The other is a picture book that is still in the development stage with the author. Take some time this afternoon to read through them." He glanced at the titles, then back at her. "And Small Wonders?" he asked. Her gaze shifted to the manuscript on the edge of the desk. "That is separate," she said. "For now, I want you to settle into the role you have just taken. You are an editor here. When we work on your book, I need you to remember that you are also a writer. Those are different hats. Switching between them can be messy." "I can handle messy," he said. "I hope so," she said. "This place runs on messy." She reached for the manuscript and brought it closer. "I reread it yesterday," she said. "I marked more notes. When you are ready, we will set a time to go through them." He watched her hand on the stack of pages. The tabs made a ragged little rainbow down one side. "Thank you," he said. "You do not have to thank me for doing my job," she said. Then she paused. "Although in this case you may have to forgive me for it later." He smiled. "I have a 5-year-old. I am used to tough feedback." "That might help," she said. Her eyes flicked past him to the glass wall. "You brought Mia. She is downstairs in the kids' corner," he said. "Amber was very clear that it exists for people like me." "Good," Victoria said. "I like when things work as intended." He studied her face. In the office with her hair up and the day's work spread around her, she looked more like the woman from the interview again. The softened edges from his kitchen were still there, though, in the way her gaze lingered a fraction longer than needed. "Do you have any questions for me before we begin?" she asked. "About the job," he said. "About anything related to the job." He hesitated. "What do you expect from me here?" Her answer came without hesitation. Honest reads, she said. Clear notes. The ability to tell when a story has more in it than the writer is letting out, and the patience to help them pull it onto the page. That is the part I like best, he said. Good, she replied. We can work with that. She stood gathering the manuscript and a yellow legal pad. Come on, she said. Let us start with your own work before I hand you anyone else's. That way, you will know how it feels on the other side of the table. They walked together down the short hall to a smaller meeting room. A round table sat by the window, surrounded by 4 chairs. A whiteboard waited on the wall, half filled with someone else's notes on a different project. She set Small Wonders in the center of the table and sat. He took the chair to her right. She opened to the first page. The colored tabs flickered at the edges. The opening image is strong, she said. But your protagonist spends most of this chapter reacting instead of acting. Let us talk about that. He leaned forward, the world narrowing to the paper between them and the sound of her voice. They were 10 minutes into the conversation when the door burst open. Mia stood there breathing a little harder than usual, as if she had run up the stairs. One fist gripped the strap of her backpack. The other held a piece of paper covered in crayon lines. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Mia stood in the doorway, cheeks pink from the climb hair slightly frizzed from the rain. A streak of orange crayon ran across the back of her hand. The hallway light framed her shoulders. I knocked, she said, a little breathless. But I do not think you heard. Luke pushed his chair back. Mia, you cannot just run into people's meetings. Her gaze flicked to him, then to the table, then to Victoria. I am sorry, she said. I just needed to show you something. She lifted the paper in her hand. Thick crayon lines filled the page. 3 stick figures stood under a row of uneven circles that were probably lights or maybe stars. One tall figure had dark hair scribbled around its head and a shirt colored blue. Above it, in careful wobbly letters, she had written, Dad. The second figure was slightly shorter, in a gray triangle dress with yellow hair pulled up high. Miss V, the smallest figure between them, had a purple dress and a crooked smile. Me. Victoria's eyes went first to the letters, then to the half circle of lights over their heads. I was downstairs, Mia said. The lady with the candy bowl told me my dad is in a meeting with you, so I made this so you would know he is not alone. Luke felt the heat crawl up his neck. Mia, he said, you cannot just draw people into things without asking them. That is not how meetings work. Mia frowned. I did ask, she said. I am asking now. She held the page out a little farther. Victoria reached for it. Her fingers curled around the edge of the paper. For a second, Luke saw a small tremor travel through them. It could have been from the climb. It could have been from anything. This is us, Victoria said. Yes, Mia replied. Victoria studied the drawing. She touched one of the circles above their heads with the tip of her nail. What are these? She asked. Lights, Mia said, like in your party room in the book. Luke looked at his daughter. What party room? In his story, Mia said, impatient now. There is a party, Dad. The boy's dad puts up lights in the backyard so it is not so dark. Victoria's mouth softened. Luke had forgotten he had written that scene. You read it, he said. Mia shrugged. You left some pages on the printer at home. I took them. I wanted to see what the fox did next. Luke put a hand over his face for a moment. We need to talk about stealing later, he said. It is not stealing if it is our book, Mia said. Victoria let out a sound that was almost a laugh. Is it okay, Mia asked her, that I made you in it too? Victoria looked up from the drawing. There was an odd stillness in her eyes, like a lake when the wind drops. I think it is more than okay, she said. Good, Mia said. You can keep it if you want. Victoria glanced once at Luke. Then she stood cross to the whiteboard and pulled a magnet from the frame. She pinned the drawing in the top corner slightly crooked next to a list of action items from some other meeting. There, she said. Now it is official. We will have to consult with our new art director on future covers. Mia beamed. Art director is important, Victoria added. That is what people will see first. Mia nodded as if she already knew this. Luke looked at the drawing on the wall. The 3 figures stood close together, all of their stick arms touching. Thank you for bringing this up, Victoria said to Mia. Next time, knock a little louder. I will, Mia said. Amber said she would listen for me. With that, she hopped back a step. I have to go finish the dragon book, she said. It is very serious. She slipped out of the room, her sneakers squeaking slightly on the hallway floor. The door clicked shut. Silence settled around the table. The manuscript lay open between them. The colored tabs looked brighter somehow. Luke cleared his throat. I am sorry about that, he said. She gets excited. She forgets doors are not suggestions. It is fine, Victoria said. She put you right in the middle, he added. No pressure. I have been called worse things than stick figure in the middle, Victoria said. He let out a breath. She should not have barged in. She is 5, Victoria said. The rules are different for 5. He followed her gaze to the drawing again. The circles overhead were uneven, some bigger, some faint, drawn with a yellow crayon that had clearly been used hard before. I like the lights, she said. She remembered them. She remembers everything he said, including things I wish she would forget. Victoria sat back down. For a moment she did not look at the manuscript. She looked at the drawing on the wall instead. You said you wrote most of this at your kitchen table, she said, after she went to bed. That is right, he said. She must have heard more of it than you thought she said. He thought of Mia's small face peeking around the corner of the hall on nights he had believed she was asleep. The way she would creep in and curl under an old quilt on the couch while he typed. Apparently so, he said. Victoria drew her attention back to the pages in front of her. Shall we continue, she asked. Sure, he said. She tapped the first paragraph again. The problem we talked about is still a problem, she said. Your protagonist watches things happen. He does not cause them. Children will walk away from that. They want to see someone like them pushing at the world, not just being pushed. So he needs to decide more things, Luke said. Yes, she said. Much more. He is allowed to be scared, but he is not allowed to be passive. Fear is interesting. Passivity is not. They went line by line. She asked questions that nudged at the structure. Why this scene here? Why this reveal there? Did this conversation need to exist, or was it only on the page because Luke had needed to hear himself say it? Time blurred. The rain on the windows changed rhythm. People's voices in the hallway rose and fell, and then thinned as lunchtime approached. Eventually they took a break. Luke's stomach growled at an unhelpful volume. Victoria glanced at the clock on the wall and closed the manuscript. Go eat, she said. We have made good progress. What about you, he asked. I have a call, she said. I will eat at my desk. He stood stretching his back. Do you ever not eat at your desk, he asked lightly. Rarely during business hours, she said. That sounds like a health hazard, he said. You will find editorial is one long string of minor health hazards, she replied. He gathered his notes and pushed in his chair. As he left the room, he cast one more glance at the whiteboard. The drawing watched him go, its 3 figures under their bouncing yellow lights. The break room was a narrow space with a microwave, a fridge, and a coffee maker that wheezed like it had asthma. Nate stood in front of it shaking the carafe. If you tap it 3 times and swear under your breath, it sometimes works, Nate said. That is a grim ritual, Luke said. Welcome to publishing, Nate said. How goes the honeymoon? What honeymoon? Luke opened the fridge and searched for the lunch he had packed. He found the plastic container behind someone's yogurt. New job, fresh desk, private meeting with Hale on day 1, Nate said. Around here that counts. It is intense, Luke said. She is very precise. That is one word for her, Nate said. I like to go with terrifying in a useful way. She is not that bad, Luke said. At least not with the pages. She is hard on the work, not the person. Nate poured coffee that looked suspiciously thin. You say that now, Nate said. Wait until you miss a typo on a cover. Luke winced. Do people survive that? Some of them, Nate said. They sat at the small table by the window. Rain streamed down the glass in zigzags. The street below glistened. Hey, Nate said between bites of his sandwich. About the kid, Mia, Luke said. Yeah, you brought her. That is cool, Nate said. A lot of people here have families. The kids' corner is half the reason half of us are still married. I did not have many options, Luke said. I am still figuring out the logistics. Relax, Nate said. You will not be the only one juggling. Just check your email before 5. Hale likes to pretend she does not notice, but she is the one who pushed for the kids' corner in the first place. She did, Luke said. Of course, Nate said. You think facilities requested beanbags on their own? He had not imagined Victoria lobbying for beanbags. He pictured her in a meeting making a measured argument for crayons and a dragon rug. After lunch, he picked up Mia and brought her upstairs. This is where I work, he told her. She looked at the rows of desks, the piles of books, the soft hum of keyboards and conversation. It is quieter than I thought, she whispered. Words are quieter than machines, he said. She spotted a shelf of middle-grade novels near his desk and settled on the floor with another book. He kept one eye on her while he opened his new project files. When he looked up an hour later, she was in Nate's chair, listening with total attention as he described a monster he was helping someone cut from a story. Do not make it too nice, Mia advised. Monsters should be a little scary, otherwise they are just pets. Nate pointed at her with his pen. See, he told Luke, art director. The afternoon passed in a slow rhythm. Luke read the manuscript for the mystery scribbling notes in the margin. Now and then his gaze drifted across the room to Victoria's office. She read something on her screen, lips pressed together. She took a call, turning slightly toward the window. At one point, she stood, stretched her shoulders, and went to the small cabinet in the corner. He saw the flash of a salad container, the dull glint of a fork. He wondered if she ever left the building during the day. By 6, the office had thinned. People shrugged into coats called "Good night," headed out into the wet dark. The overhead lights dimmed slightly. The glow from individual monitors grew more distinct. Mia yawned and leaned against his leg. "Can we go home?" she asked. Soon, he said. "Let me just finish this page." She rested her head on his knee and closed her eyes. Within minutes, her breathing had slowed. He saved his notes, shut down his computer, and carefully picked her up. She was heavier asleep, her weight boneless and trusting. The fox dangled from one hand. On the way to the elevator, he passed the small meeting room. The door stood open. Victoria sat at the round table alone. The manuscript was closed. The legal pad lay off to the side. She was not looking at either of them. She was looking at the drawing on the whiteboard. Her eyes traced the crayon lines as if reading a language only she understood. One hand rested on the table. The other was curled loosely in her lap. Luke hesitated in the doorway. "I can come back tomorrow with the revisions," he said softly. She turned. The expression on her face cleared quickly, like writing wiped from a fogged window. "No need," she said. "You have a sleeping schedule to honor." He glanced at Mia. Her cheek was pressed against his shoulder. A strand of hair stuck to the corner of her mouth. "She refused to leave the dragon unfinished," he said. "That sounds right," Victoria said. Her gaze flicked once more to the drawing. "Thank you for letting her put that up," he said. "It seemed important to her," she said. "Is it okay with you?" he asked. She looked at him as if surprised by the question. "Yes," she said, "it is okay with me." Something in her voice made him want to ask more. About what she saw when she looked at 3 stick figures under yellow circles. About whether they reminded her of something else. Instead, he hitched Mia a little higher on his shoulder. "See you tomorrow," he said. "See you tomorrow," she replied. As he walked toward the elevator, he felt the drawing behind him hanging in that small room like a quiet promise no one had signed and everyone could see. By the 3rd week, the building had begun to feel less like a set from someone else's life, and more like a place Luke actually belonged. Mornings followed a rhythm. He and Mia walked in under gray Portland skies, shook the rain from their jackets on the lobby rug, waved at Amber, and checked the kids' corner. Mia picked a new book or reclaimed one she had left the day before. Luke rode the elevator up with coffee cooling in his hand and a mental list of things he needed to read. Afternoons settled into their own pattern. He worked through manuscripts at his desk, scratched notes in margins, traded quick questions with Nate over the tops of their monitors. Some days he looked up to find Mia perched in someone else's chair, listening in on a conversation about character arcs or pirate ships that needed less dialogue. Most people did not seem to mind. They simply added her thoughts to the mix when she offered them. On 2 days each week, Victoria called him into a small meeting room with the latest version of Small Wonders. They sat side by side at the round table, the manuscript between them, her legal pad at the ready. She had a way of cutting to the center of a scene with a question. What is this really about for the boy, she would ask, tapping a paragraph. Is he afraid of the dark or of losing the thing that makes the dark bearable? Sometimes the question made him see more of the character. Sometimes it startled him with how close it came to his own chest. They moved scenes around. They cut whole pages he had stayed up half the night writing. They added small details, little glints of light in ordinary places. A jar on a windowsill, a flashlight beam tracing cracks on a ceiling. It was work. It was also something else, something that did not fit neatly into a job description. One Friday, the office thinned early. Clouds piled low outside the windows, heavy and dark. People checked weather apps and debated the best time to leave before the worst of the rain. Luke stayed. There was a deadline on the mystery manuscript, and he did not want to be the new hire who missed his first schedule. Mia sprawled on the rug by his desk, crayons scattered around her like fallen branches. She hummed under her breath as she drew. By the time he sent his notes to the author, the light outside had turned from gray to charcoal. The office was down to a few pools of lamplight and the blue glow of screens. "You planning to sleep here?" Nate asked as he pulled on his jacket. "Thought about it," Luke said. "Do not," Nate said. "The cleaning crew hates surprises." He waved and disappeared. Luke saved his last file, shut down his computer, and stretched. His shoulders cracked. Mia had rolled onto her back, arms spread a trail of paper around her. "Hey," he said softly, "time to go." She blinked and sat up. "I was not asleep," she said, then yawned. He helped her into her jacket. The fox poked out of her backpack, one ear bent backward. They walked down the hallway toward the elevator. As they passed the small meeting room, Luke glanced in out of habit. Victoria was there, standing by the whiteboard. The drawing still hung in the corner. She was looking at it, one hand in her pocket, the other lightly touching the edge of the paper as if checking it was real. She heard their footsteps and turned. "You are still here," she said. Guilty, Luke said. "We are leaving now." Mia peered past him. "Hi," she said. "Did you look at the picture again?" "I did," Victoria said. "Do you like it today too?" Mia asked. "I do," Victoria said. "Maybe even more." Mia seemed satisfied. "Good," she said. "We are going home because Dad said if we stay any longer, my bed will forget my name." "That sounds serious," Victoria said. "It is very serious," Mia told her. They all moved toward the elevator. The doors opened with a soft chime. Inside, the mirrored wall reflected their small group back at them, slightly distorted. Victoria hit the button for the garage level. Mia leaned against Luke's side. Her eyes drooped again by the time the doors slid open. The parking garage hummed with the low, constant echo of building machinery. The air smelled of concrete oil and damp. Rows of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, throwing pale rectangles onto the floor. The space felt bigger than it was, all empty corners and shadows. Mia wriggled free of his hand and stepped out into the open lane. The light from one of the fixtures fell straight down onto a patch of bare concrete. She stepped into it like a stage. "Look," she said, spinning slowly, arms out. Her shadow stretched around her, long and thin, flickering, as the light above them hummed. "Careful," Luke said. "Do not run. It is slippery." "I am not running," she said. "I am orbiting." He smiled despite the tiredness seeping into his bones. Victoria watched her with an expression Luke could not quite read. Her keys rested in her hand, but she did not move toward her car. "She would be about that tall now," she said quietly. Luke turned. Who would? Victoria kept her eyes on Mia, Lily. The name hung in the air for a moment, unfamiliar and important. "She was my daughter," Victoria said. Luke felt his chest tighten. "I did not know you had a daughter," he said. "I do not," she said. "Not anymore." The fluorescent light above them flickered once. Mia's shadow bent, then straightened. "She had leukemia," Victoria said. "They diagnosed her when she was 5. She died when she was 7. Her voice did not rise or fall much. It traveled out into the cold garage and settled there. "I am sorry," Luke said. The words felt small. They were what people always said when they had nothing that could touch the size of what they were hearing. Victoria's hand closed around her keys. The metal pressed into her palm. "Hospitals at night have a very particular smell," she said. "Metal and antiseptic, and the orange juice they give kids so they will drink something between treatments. The machines beep. People whisper in the hall like that makes bad news softer." Luke stood still, listening. "We used to make up stories," she said, "about light hiding in things. The strip of sun on the floor in the morning, the glowing fish in the aquarium in the waiting room, headlights on the ceiling when cars went by outside, little pieces of magic." Mia had moved on to the next pool of light. She hopped from one bright rectangle to the next, keeping her toes inside the edges. "If she was too tired to get out of bed, we would play a game," Victoria went on. "We would name 3 ordinary things in the room and say what kind of magic might be inside them, if we could see it." She gave a short breath that might have been a laugh, but landed closer to something else. "When I read your manuscript," she said, "the way you wrote about the boy looking for magic in cracks in the sidewalk, and in the way his dad's voice sounded at bedtime, it felt familiar." Luke thought of the scene she had mentioned in his kitchen, the boy and his father on the broken concrete, the grass pushing through. "I did not know," he said. "Of course you did not," she said. "I did not put it in my resume." She turned her head slightly and met his eyes. "You wrote about a father trying to build something bright in the middle of something frightening," she said. "You wrote it in a way that did not lie to the child. It did not make the dark go away, but it gave them something else to hold while they walked through it." Wind pushed through the entrance ramp, bringing with it the smell of wet asphalt from outside. "After Lily died," Victoria said, "I stopped picking up children's manuscripts for a long time. I moved to adult fiction, non-fiction, anything that did not come with illustrations of wide eyes and missing front teeth." She glanced at the ceiling light. It buzzed softly, haloing dust. "When your portfolio landed on my desk and I saw the title on that manuscript, I almost pushed it aside," she said. "Then I read the first page. I meant to skim. I did not." Her mouth pressed into a small line. "So, yes," she said. "She would be about Mia's height now, maybe a little taller. She always wanted to be the tallest in her class." Mia hopped back toward them, breath puffing a little in the cool air. "Dad," she said, "the lights make squares. I am winning." "You are very good at squares," he told her. She looked up at Victoria. "Do you want to play?" she asked. "You have to stay in the bright parts or the ground is lava." Victoria's fingers tightened around her keys. For a moment, Luke thought she would say no. Maybe next time, she said gently. I left my lava shoes at home. Mia considered this answer and seemed to accept it. She went back to jumping from one lit patch to another. Luke shifted his weight. Thank you for telling me, he said. It seemed fair, she said. You gave me your story. I wanted you to know why it mattered. He watched Mia land carefully inside another rectangle of light. Is that why you drove to my house, he asked, with the portfolio? Partly, she said. I went for practical reasons. You left something important behind. That is an easy excuse. The rest is more complicated. I do complicated, he said quietly. I know, she said. I have read your work. She gave a small nod as if they had signed a contract he could not see. Luke wanted to reach out to put a hand on her shoulder, to offer some kind of anchor against memories that had no edges. He did not. The space between them held something fragile that did not want to be touched yet. If it ever feels like I am pushing too hard when we work on the book, she said, tell me. You are not, he said. You are making it better. I am also making it mine in places, she said. That is what happens. We can keep an eye on that together. He nodded. Across the garage, a car door slammed. Someone's engine turned over. Sound bounced off the concrete and faded. We should get you home, she said. It is late for orbits and lava. Come on, astronaut, Luke called to Mia. Time to leave the planet. Mia ran back to them, cheeks bright, hair a little wild. Bye, Miss V, she said. Good night, Mia, Victoria said. Watch out for meteors. They walked toward their cars, the rhythm of their footsteps echoing slightly out of sync. At his door, Luke buckled Mia into her seat. When he straightened, Victoria was standing by her own car, one hand on the handle, the other resting on the roof. Luke, she said. He looked over. For what it is worth, she said, Lily would have liked your fox. He felt something in his chest loosen and tighten at the same time. I am glad, he said. She gave him a last small nod, then got into her car. The headlights flared, washing the concrete in white for a moment, before settling into their normal glow. As he pulled out of his own space, Luke glanced in the rearview mirror. Mia's eyes were already closed, the fox tucked under her chin. Outside, rain traced lines down the ramp as they rose from the dim garage toward the wet, waiting streets. The squares of light they left behind stayed burning in his mind long after they turned the corner. In the weeks that followed, life arranged itself around the book. Small wonders lived on the table between Luke and Victoria, 2 afternoons a week. The pages grew softer at the corners from being turned and retouched. The tabs shifted as scenes moved, old colors peeled away, new ones added. At home, the printed drafts stacked up on the counter, then migrated to the coffee table, then to a laundry basket in the corner when the pile got too tall. Mia built forts out of them and crawled underneath with a flashlight, reading her favorite parts out loud to the fox. At the office, the drawing on the whiteboard did not move. It watched their meetings from its corner, the 3 figures under the bumpy line of yellow lights. On a Tuesday morning, Victoria tapped the manuscript with the end of her pen. You are hiding here, she said. I am right here, Luke said. In the scene, she said. Not in the chair. They were in the small meeting room again. Rain streaked down the glass outside. The building across the street was only a blur. She turned the pages until she reached the middle of the story. The father refuses to tell the boy that anything bad will ever happen to him, she said. He keeps saying everything will be fine. That is what he is supposed to say, Luke said. He has to reassure him. Reassurance does not mean lying, she said. You know that. Where are you letting your own fear write this scene? He stared at the lines he had drafted. The father in the story telling the boy that the dark outside the window was nothing, that storms could not touch them, that no one ever left for good. He thought of the empty side of his own bed, the silence where another adult might have been, Mia standing in the kitchen doorway asking if they were going to have to move. You want him to tell the truth, he said. I want him to tell the truth he is able to tell, she said. He does not have to describe every possible tragedy. He does need to admit that he cannot control everything. Kids hate that, Luke said. Adults hate it more, she replied. He let that sit between them. The room was quiet except for the heater and the soft scratch of her pen as she circled a sentence. You wrote something honest 2 pages later, she said. The line about promising to be there in the morning, no matter what, even if the day is hard. That is enough. Cut the rest and let that stand. He dug for the line she meant. When he found it, it was like recognizing his own handwriting on a wall he did not remember painting. Okay, he said. They cut the scene. They rebuilt it with fewer guarantees and more presence. The boy still got his father's voice in the dark, but this time the comfort did not pretend the world was simple. During one of their longer sessions, Nate poked his head in. Hate to interrupt the magic, he said, but marketing needs Hale for a cover meeting. Victoria looked up from the page she had been annotating. Now, he added, She glanced at the clock and closed her notebook. "We will pick this up tomorrow," she said to Luke. "Sure," he said. She turned to Nate. "What is the problem?" "They think the fairy lights look too quiet," Nate said. "They want a lightning bolt or something more dramatic." "They cannot have a lightning bolt," she said. "This is not that kind of book." "I did not say I agreed," Nate said. "I am only the messenger." She stood. "Tell them I am coming," she said. When she left, Luke sat alone with the manuscript for a minute. He read the last paragraph they had worked on, the boy looking at a jar with 3 small lights inside, wondering how long they would glow. The father telling him that sometimes things are brightest when you pay attention to them. He wrote 2 words in the margin: "Stay small." Later that afternoon, he found the first mock-up of the cover in his email. The designer had painted a dark backyard, a boy with a flashlight, and a line of small lights strung between 2 trees. They glowed softly, almost shy. Mia saw the image over his shoulder at home. "That is our lights," she said. "That is the party." "You think so?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "They look like they are hiding and shining at the same time." He sent that line to Victoria. Her reply came back 3 minutes later. "Tell her she can have my job." The days filled with ordinary tasks. Luke edited other people's books, wrote emails, sat in meetings where they argued about fonts and print runs. He learned which days the coffee machine was least likely to leak. He learned that if he printed something after 5, he had to clear a path through the avalanche of paper on the output tray. In quiet moments, his mind returned to the garage, to the way Victoria had said Lily's name, to the way she had watched Mia hop from square to square. He did not bring it up again. Neither did she. Instead, pieces of that story slipped through in other places, small and sideways. Once while they were revising, he wrote a line about the boy's fear that if he fell asleep, someone he loved might not be there when he woke up. He expected her to cut it. She underlined it and put a check mark beside it. Another time, she drew a small star in the margin next to a sentence where the boy and his father counted the dots of light on the ceiling made by cars passing outside. "Where did that come from?" she asked. He pictured the glow of passing headlights on the hospital ceiling of the story she had told. "I have my sources," he said. One afternoon, he walked into the small meeting room to find the whiteboard full. The drawing was still there in its corner. The rest of the board had been filled with notes from some other meeting. Arrows connected boxes. Phrases were half erased. Across the middle, someone had written in large letters, "Everyday Magic." He stopped. "That is new," he said when Victoria entered behind him. She followed his gaze. "Working title from marketing," she said. "They want to lean into that phrase. They think it will work better than Small Wonders on a shelf." Luke tried it silently. "Everyday Magic. It sounds less quiet," he said. "That is their goal," she said. "Quiet books scare them." "Do you like it?" he asked. She considered. "I did not at first," she said. "It felt too broad, but it keeps sticking in my head. That is usually a sign that something has hold of me, whether I approve or not." "What do we do?" he asked. "We live with it for a while," she said. "If it still feels true after the cover meeting, we keep it. If not, we fight." "We," he repeated. "Yes," she said. "This is still your book. I am not going to let them put a lightning bolt on it." He smiled. "Good," he said. "The fox would be offended." They sat and went back to the pages, but the words on the board lingered at the edge of his vision. Everyday Magic. The next Saturday, he and Mia went to the public library. Rain tapped gently at the tall windows there, too. He steered them toward the children's section by habit. Mia ran her fingers along the spines. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Seeing which ones feel right," she said. "Feels right," Howie asked. "Like they have something inside them," she said. "Some are just paper, some are buzzing." He put his hand on a shelf at random, palm flat against the worn covers. "Which ones are buzzing?" he asked. She tapped 3 books in a row. He pulled them out. The first was about a girl who planted a secret garden in a vacant lot. The second was about a boy who built a spaceship out of cardboard and never left his backyard. The third was a picture book with barely any words, only paintings of light moving across a room over the course of a day. He checked them out. At bedtime that night, he read the light book to her twice. She traced the shifting beams with one finger. "It is like your book," she said, but with no words. He thought of the advice on his own margins. "Trust readers. Maybe we're in the same family," he said. The next week, the first round of printed galleys arrived at Northbridge. Small stacks appeared on desks in the break room on the table by the coffee machine. The cover read "Everyday Magic" in clean letters above the painted scene of a backyard full of string lights and shadows. Luke picked one up. The paper felt rougher than the printer paper he knew. The ink had an actual smell. Nate whistled low when he saw it. "Not bad, Carter," Nate said. "They did not ruin it." "That is high praise," Luke said. You would be surprised how many times they do, Nate said. Mia held her copy with both hands when he brought one home. This is heavier than the ones from the printer, she said. That is real book weight, he said. She carried it around the house for the rest of the evening, stopping to open it in every room, as if checking that the pages read the same under different lights. At work, Victoria flipped through her own copy, checking for printing errors, smudged ink, misaligned text. No ghosts, she said finally. Ghosts, he asked. Missing lines, flipped pages, she said. Things that come back to haunt us later. Looks clean to me, he said. She set the galley down and rested her hand on the cover. We will need to talk to publicity, she said. They will want a short pitch and a couple of talking points. They might ask if you are willing to do school visits. School visits, he repeated a little faint. Children's authors go to schools, she said. They read. They answer questions. Some of the questions are about the book. Most of them are not. What kind of questions, he asked. Who cuts your hair, she said. Do you own a dog? How much money do you make? Basic research. He laughed. I can answer those, he said, I think. Her expression shifted just slightly. They might also ask where the story came from, she said. You should decide how much you want to say about your life and about Mia. I can talk about her, he said, as long as I make it clear she is not allowed to critique me in front of her classmates. There is another question they might ask, she said, or that an interviewer might. They might ask me why Northbridge picked this book, why I picked it. That one seems easy, he said. You liked it. I did, she said. But people like reasons. They like stories about stories. They like to know if something happened behind the scenes that lines up with what they are reading. He understood then what she was circling. They might ask about Lily, he said. Yes, she said. He let the words sit. The room felt smaller again like it had when she first told him in the garage. Do you want to talk about her? He asked. Publicly, I mean. I am not sure, she said. Part of me wants to keep that separate. Part of me wonders if it would help someone hear that history attached to this story. They sat with that for a moment. I do not want anyone to use her as a marketing hook, she said. That is the part that makes my skin crawl. Then we do not let them, he said. You say that as if it is simple, she said. I do not mean it will be easy, he said. I just mean it is a line we can draw. We can decide together what is about the book and what is about your life. You get to say no. She watched him weighing his words. You are willing to step into that, she said. It is not your story. It is part of why you came to my door, he said. That makes it part of this story now. If anyone tries to turn your daughter into a bullet point, I will be annoyed on your behalf. You will be annoyed, she repeated. Very annoyed, he said. Something that might have been a smile touched her mouth. That is generous of you, she said. It is not generous, he said. It is basic human behavior. She reached for the galley again and turned it so the cover faced him. Whatever we decide, she said, the book will stand on its own. That is what it needs to do. He nodded. Her fingers brushed the painted lights on the cover. Still, she said quietly, I think she would have liked the way these look. He knew she meant Lily. He did not say her name. He did not have to. They went back to their lists. Publicity notes, launch dates, deadlines for final corrections. Practical things that had to be done so that the story they had worked on could leave the building and go out into hands they would never see. That night at home, Luke set the galley on the table. Mia climbed into a chair and opened it to the first page. Are we changing it anymore? She asked. A few small things, he said. Most of it is set. She ran her fingers along the printed words, whispering them under her breath. At the end of the first chapter, she looked up. I remember when this part was different, she said. I like this version better. The boy is braver now. Luke thought of the meetings, the questions, the cuts that had hurt to make. So do I, he said. The date on the office calendar crept closer without moving at all. Someone from marketing had circled it in red on the big wall planner near the elevator. Under the number in neat black marker, they had written EM Launch, Everyday Magic. Luke walked past it at least twice a day. Each time his eyes found the circle, even when he was not aiming for it. The weeks filled up around that ring of ink. Sales sent out early copies to key accounts. Publicity lined up a handful of interviews with blogs that covered children's books. An email went around about a pre-order campaign with signed book plates. Luke sat at a conference room table one afternoon and signed his name so many times it started to look like someone else's. You are going to forget how to write it by the end of this, Nate said, sliding another stack toward him. There is a non-zero chance I already have, Luke said. Around them, the conference room buzzed with unrelated conversations. Someone argued about the placement of a logo on a spine. Another editor tried to negotiate a different pub date for a delayed title. On the far wall, a mock-up of the Everyday Magic cover rested on an easel. The lights on the painted string glowed with their own stillness. "Have you picked your outfit?" Nate asked. "My what?" Luke said. "For the launch party," Nate said. "Author photos. People with cameras. You know they will be there." "I thought this was a book thing, not a fashion show," Luke said. "Fortunately for you, the bar is low," Nate said. "Just do not wear the shirt with the paint stain. Hale will combust." Luke glanced down at his clothes, suddenly aware of every wrinkle. "I have a suit somewhere," he said. "Good," Nate said. "Dust it off. This is the fun part." Luke was not entirely convinced, but he kept signing. Later that day, he had another session with Victoria. They sat at the round table in the small meeting room. No manuscript this time. The pages had been locked weeks before. They had moved on from commas and line edits to things like run of show and talking points. Victoria had a printed agenda in front of her. Luke had a pen he was not sure he needed. "Publicity sent over a draft outline for your interviews," she said. "They want you to be ready so you are not blindsided." "I appreciate that," he said. "Blindsided is not my favorite feeling." She slid a sheet across to him. He scanned the list. "Why did you write Everyday Magic? What do you hope children will take from the story? How does being a single father influence your work? What is your writing routine?" He could answer most of those without sweating too much. His eyes stopped on one near the bottom. "How has working with Victoria Hale shaped this book?" He felt a prickle along his neck and tried to ignore it. "Standard stuff," he said. "They kept my name in there," she said. "Of course they did." "You do not like that," he said. "It is not about liking," she said. "I prefer the work to stand without my name attached to it. People already have opinions. Ice Queen, this, ruthless, that." "The Ice Queen helped with the Kids' Corner," he said. "Yes," she said, "but that does not fit the story." "It fits mine," he said. She looked at him, one eyebrow slightly up. "How do you want me to answer that question?" he asked. "Honestly," she said, "that does not mean you have to recite my resume." He read the line again. "How has working with Victoria Hale shaped this book?" he said. "It is a clunky question," she said. "You can say we had a good professional relationship and that she is a demanding editor. Leave it there." "Is that what you want?" he asked. "I want you to remember that the book is yours," she said. "Northbridge acquired it. I helped you shape it. But it began at your kitchen table, not in my office." He thought of the nights at that table, the empty mugs, the blue light of the laptop, Mia sleeping in the next room. "It did not become this without you," he said. "That is kind," she said. "We do not need to say it in print." Something about the way she said it made him pause. "You are very careful about where your name goes," he said. "Names are sticky," she said. "Once they attach to a narrative, they are difficult to pry off again." "And you do not like the narrative people have given you," he said. "I like some of it," she said. "Not all." He wanted to ask which part she liked, which part she hated, but there was another line on the page that pulled his attention. "Has anyone in your life inspired the character of the boy's father?" He did not have to read it out loud. She knew which one he meant. "We can skip that," he said. "They will not," she said. "They will want to know if he is you." "He is partly me," Luke said, "and partly someone I am trying to be, and partly someone no one can actually live up to." "Say that," she said. "That is good." He hesitated. "There is one more question they are going to ask," he said. "Maybe not on that list, not if they are being polite, but people are going to think it." Victoria waited. "Everyday Magic is about a child and a parent getting through something hard," he said. "It is a children's book, picked by someone whose child died. They are going to want to make that connection out loud." "Yes," she said. He took a breath. "How much of that do you want me to talk about?" he asked. "If they press. If they ask how you read it, how it landed for you." Her fingers tapped once on the table. "I have been thinking about that," she said. And he asked. "I am not ready to put Lily into marketing copy," she said. "She is not an engine for sales. She is my daughter." "Then we keep her out of it," he said. "She is also part of why this manuscript mattered to me," she said. "Part of why I fought for it when other louder projects were competing for the same slot. Pretending that is not true feels dishonest in the other direction." He could see the tug of it on her, one side protecting, one side wanting to honor. "What if it stays with you in person?" he said. "If someone asks you directly, you can choose how much to say. I do not have to speak for you. I can talk about the book instead." Her shoulders eased just slightly. "That might work," she said. "I can say that my editor had her own reasons to care about this story," he said. "That is all." "That is vague," she said. "That is the point," he said. A faint smile touched her mouth. "You are learning to navigate the dance," she said. "I have a good teacher," he said. Her eyes did something he had not seen before. They flicked away almost like a reflex, as if she needed a second to shield something. She turned back to the agenda. They covered the rest of the list, but the air between them felt different. Awareness hummed there, quiet and persistent. The next week, tension found another way in. It started in a full staff meeting. They gathered in the large conference room for the monthly update. The head of sales presented numbers. Marketing showed slides of upcoming campaigns. Someone cracked a joke about supply chain issues and holiday lists. Everyday magic appeared on the screen in a slide labeled Fall Priorities. The cover made the air feel thinner around Luke's chair. Strong pre-order interest, the sales director said. Consumers are responding to the title. Our buyers say the art feels warm. We are getting nice early reads from the trades. This could be a quiet breakout. Luke could have done without the word quiet, but he kept that to himself. When questions opened up, someone from another imprint raised a hand. Who is handling the school and library push on this one? She asked. And is Victoria taking the lead on the author relationship, or is that falling to a junior editor? Victoria's answer came clipped and automatic. I am overseeing the project, she said, but Mr. Carter will handle his own appearances. Mr. Carter. The formal address in front of the room drew a small line down Luke's spine. It was not new. She had used it on his first day. In this context, though, it sounded like she was pushing him back to a distance they had already crossed. The meeting moved on. People flipped pages in their packets. Someone passed a box of pastries down the table. Luke heard very little of the rest. Afterward, as the room emptied, he lingered by the door, pretending to check his phone. Victoria collected her folders. That went well, Nate said, appearing at Luke's shoulder. Look at you, Fall Priority. Is that like being on honor roll, Luke said. Better, Nate said. They do not give out pizza parties for honor roll. He clapped Luke on the back and headed out. Luke waited until only a few people remained. Then he approached Victoria as she slid her notes into a slim leather folder. Mr. Carter, he said. She looked up. Luke, she said, as if catching herself. You used my formal name 3 times in there, he said lightly. I counted. Old habit, she said. Force of professional routine. It sounded like you were trying to pretend we barely know each other, he said. We work together, she said. That is the context in that room. That is not all we do, he said. Her jaw flexed once, a small movement near her temple. Have I overstepped somewhere? He asked. Because if I have, I would rather talk about it than go back to pretending I am just a stranger who drops off pages on your desk. She looked past him at the empty chairs, the half-eaten pastries. This company is not kind to blurred lines, she said. People talk. They make assumptions. It can undercut authority. Mine and yours. I am not asking you to announce anything, he said. I am just trying to understand if something changed. Nothing has changed, she said. That is the problem. He frowned. We are still working on your book, she said. I am still your boss. You are still the father of a child who spends a remarkable amount of time on our 4th floor rug. None of that is simple. You are not just my boss, he said. Not in the garage, she said quietly. Not at your kitchen table, but in rooms like this I am. He felt a small irrational flare of hurt, a desire of hurt. So, in this room, I am Mr. Carter, he said. And out there, I am Luke. It is not that clean, she said. I know, he said. Believe me, I know. They stood like that for a few seconds in the nearly empty room. You are trying to protect something, he said. Yes, she said. Is it me or you, he asked. Both, she said. He let out a breath. Okay, he said. I can respect that. I just needed to know it was about the company, and not because you suddenly decided this was all a bad idea. If I had decided that, she said, you would not have to guess. The certainty in her voice did something odd to his ribs. Then we keep walking a line, he said. For now, she said. The conversation did not resolve neatly. They left the room together and peeled off in opposite directions, both carrying more than their folders. That evening, the office emptied early again. Storm warnings had made their way through everyone's phones. People wanted to beat the traffic, the flooded corners, the inevitable late buses. Luke stayed later than he meant to, caught in a round of emails about a different book. When he finally shut his computer, the floor was almost empty. He went to the small meeting room to grab the notes he had left there. Victoria sat alone at the table, no papers in front of her, hands folded around a mug gone cold. I thought you left, he said. I thought you did, she said. Rain traced long lines down the window behind her, blurring the city into streaks of light. He stepped inside and let the door fall mostly closed. I wanted to say something, he said. About what, she asked. About earlier, he said, in the meeting. Her mouth tightened. I did not mean to make you feel shut out, she said. You did not, he said. Not exactly. It just reminded me that you are carrying more than one version of yourself at a time. Looks messy from the outside, she said. Looks heavy from here, he said. She went quiet. I know you have to be careful, he said. You are running a company. People look to you, they talk, they interpret. I am not asking you to risk that because I want you to call me by my first name at all times. What are you asking? She said. He searched for the right words. I am asking you not to shut me out of the parts that are not about work, he said. If you need distance in certain rooms, I can live with that. But I do not want to lose the other conversations we have because the calendar has a date circled on it. Her eyes lifted to his. The other conversations, she repeated. The ones about Lily, he said softly. About why this story matters to you. About lava in the parking garage and kids who stand in light squares. Her fingers tightened around the mug. I do not talk about her with many people, she said. I know, he said. It is easier to be efficient, she said. Efficient, focused, useful. If I stay inside that version of myself, I do not have to touch the places that feel like open wires. You let me see some of that, he said. I did, she said. Do you regret it? He asked. No, she said. That might be the most unsettling part. A small, humorless laugh escaped her. It is easier to keep people at the surface, she said. Then they cannot take anything if they leave. That is one way to prevent loss, he said. It is also a good way to prevent anything from happening at all. She studied his face. You are not the first person to imply that my methods are a little extreme, she said. Do you listen to any of them? He asked. You are annoyingly hard to ignore, she said. That is something he said. The corner of her mouth curled. Tomorrow in front of the sales team, you will still be Mr. Carter, she said. I need that boundary. For me. For the job. Understood, he said. In here, she said. And in the garage. And when your daughter drags me into crayon drawings, you are Luke. He let the words settle. Deal, he said. He reached out, not to touch her hand, not yet, just to lift the mug slightly. This is cold, he said. It is, she said. I forgot to drink it. Come on, he said. We can fix at least one thing tonight. I know where they hide the good tea. He did not wait for a formal answer. He walked to the door and held it. After a moment, she stood and followed him into the quiet hallway. They walked side by side to the break room, the sound of rain filling the spaces between their steps, two people carrying their own histories toward a kettle and a thin run of fluorescent light. On the way, they passed the big wall calendar. The red circle around EM launch waited there, bright and steady part of the hallway, background, and the center of a lot of conversations. Neither of them stopped. They did not need to. The date was already marked in both their minds. The sky over Portland was the color of steel when Luke and Mia stepped out of the elevator onto the top floor. A set of glass doors stood open ahead of them. Beyond the rooftop had been turned into something that did not look like the same building he had walked into all year. Strings of lights crisscrossed the space, casting warm pools over clusters of small round tables. Tall plants in black pots broke the wind. A bar had been set up along one side with rows of glasses catching the last of the evening light. Servers moved through the crowd with trays of skewers and tiny tarts. Copies of Everyday Magic stood upright on a display table near the entrance, their covers all facing outward, a little army of backyards and lights. Mia tightened her grip on his hand. Is this all for us? She whispered. Looks like it, he said. Her dress was blue with a skirt that flared when she spun. She had tested that in their entryway at least 10 times before they left. The fox, slightly more threadbare every week, wore a red ribbon around its neck for the occasion. Dad, she said, eyes wide, there are lights everywhere. They really committed to the theme, he said. Nate appeared at his elbow in a blazer that almost matched its own confidence. Carter, Nate said. Look at you. The suit fits. Barely, Luke said. I think it shrank in the closet. Everything shrinks in the closet, Nate said. That is science. You ready for this? That depends what this is, Luke said. A room full of people pretending to be relaxed while counting how many books are on the table, Nate said. And some of them genuinely here to celebrate you. In that order. Mia tugged on Nate's sleeve. Do we get cake? She asked. There are tiny things on sticks, Nate said. Not quite cake, but as close as marketing allows. She considered this. I will inspect, she said. She let go of Luke's hand and floated toward a passing tray. Luke watched her go, then scanned the crowd. Editors, designers, sales reps, and writers from other lists mingled in loose groups. A few faces he recognized from dust jackets. Some turned toward him with polite smiles, the measuring kind people gave new authors. Others just kept talking. A light breeze lifted napkins off one of the tables. Someone pinned them with a bottle of sparkling water. What does that look? Nate said. Just trying to figure out if I am supposed to know anyone, Luke said. You know me, Nate said. And you know Hale. Everyone else will introduce themselves if they want something from you. That is the trick. Let them do the work. Luke smiled faintly. Where is she? He asked before he could stop himself. Nate followed his gaze, gave a quick nod toward the far side of the rooftop, then stepped back. I am going to go rescue the cheese plate, Nate said. Try not to fall off the building. Luke turned. For a second the crowd blurred. Then Victoria came into focus. She stood near the edge of the rooftop, talking to the head of sales. Her usual sharp lines had been softened. She wore a dress the color of midnight, the fabric catching and releasing the light as she moved. Her hair, usually pulled back and controlled, fell loose around her shoulders, curled slightly at the ends by the damp air. He felt something in his chest misstep. She looked up as if she had heard it. Their eyes met across the space. The sales director said something. She nodded, excused herself with a hand on his arm, and walked toward Luke. He became very aware of his sleeves, his posture, the way his tie sat slightly crooked. He resisted the urge to fix everything at once. "You made it," she said. "Seemed rude not to," he said. "What with my name on the invitations?" Her gaze ran quickly over him, taking in the suit, the tie, the way his hair refused to lie completely flat. "You clean up well, Carter," she said. "I had help," he said. "Mia vetoed 3 shirts. "She shows good judgment," Victoria said. He looked at her, at the dress, at the way the blue of it made her eyes look almost silver. "You look different," he said. "Good different," he added, because his brain had decided to take a brief vacation. "I own clothes that are not black blazers," she said. "There is just not much call for them on the 4th floor. "Well," he said, "they should be called more often." Her mouth shifted like she was trying not to smile too broadly. "How are you holding up?" she asked. He looked around at the cluster of people near the bar, at the stack of his books by the door. "I have been worse," he said. "It helps that they put lights everywhere. Mia thinks she is in a fairy tale." "She is not wrong," Victoria said. As if summoned, Mia appeared at his side, a cupcake wrapper already in her hand. "Miss V," she said, "you are a princess." Victoria blinked once. "Am I?" she said. "Yes," Mia said. "Your dress is floaty, that is how you can tell." "Thank you for the clarification," Victoria said. Mia turned to Luke. "And Dad is like a prince," she said, "but one who has to read things." "I will take it," Luke said. He smoothed Mia's hair. "Did you see the books?" he asked her. She nodded vigorously. "There are so many," she said. "It is like they copied ours over and over." "That is more or less what they did," he said. She looked up at Victoria. "Did you copy them?" she asked. "A whole team of people did," Victoria said. "I just kept them all in the same room long enough to agree on what they were copying." Mia seemed to accept this answer as satisfying. "I am going to count the lights," she announced, "to see if there are more than in the picture." "Do not climb anything to do it," Luke said. "I will not climb anything," she said, already drifting toward the rail face tipped up toward the strings of bulbs. They watched her for a moment, making sure her version of not climbing matched his. She stopped at the edge and tilted her head back to count fingers moving silently. "She looks happy," Victoria said. "She is," Luke said. "She has cake and lights and an excuse to wear spinny fabric." "It does not get much better." A server passed with a tray of drinks. Victoria took a glass of sparkling water. Luke did the same. He caught a reflection of them in the dark glass of the nearby window. 2 people in clothes they did not usually wear, holding thin-stemmed glasses, as if they were more used to coffee mugs. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" she asked. "For all of this," he said. "For fighting for it. For not letting them put a lightning bolt on the cover." "That was self-preservation," she said. "Imagine the meetings." He laughed, then sobered. "You did more than that," he said. She looked like she might argue. Instead, she watched Mia for a second longer. "I remember what you said at your kitchen table," she said, "about needing this job to keep that house. I did not hire you as charity. You were the best candidate, but I was aware of what it would change for you if I said yes." It changed everything, he said. Her gaze came back to him. "You did the work," she said. "For the book, for the job, for your daughter. I opened a door. You walked through it." Somewhere behind them, a microphone squealed. Someone from marketing climbed onto the small riser near the bar and tapped it again. "Thank you all for coming," she said. The formal part of the evening began. There were short speeches, acknowledgments, jokes about deadlines, and caffeine. The head of sales talked about early numbers. The marketing director talked about the campaign. Someone read a short quote from one of the first trade reviews. Luke listened with one ear, the other half of his attention on Mia, on the way she leaned against the rail, counting on the way she clapped a beat late after each safe joke. At some point, the woman with the microphone called his name. "Luke, say a few words for us," she said. His stomach tightened. He stepped up, took the microphone, and looked out over the faces. He spoke for a couple of minutes. He thanked the team. He talked about why stories that made room for hard things mattered to him. He mentioned Mia watching her eyes light up at the sound of her name through the speakers. He did not mention his ex. He did not mention Lily. He did not have to look at Victoria to know she was listening. When he finished, his hands shook a little. He set the microphone back in its stand and stepped down. A wave of relief washed through him like warm water. Music started over the speakers, something with a slow bass line and a clear piano. People began to move to the cleared patch of floor near the center of the rooftop. A couple of editors swayed with plastic cups in their hands. Someone attempted a turn and nearly collided with a waiter. Luke retreated to the edge of the crowd, happy to let the motion swirl without him. Victoria found him there. "You did well," she said. "I did not faint," he said. "That felt like a victory." "You sounded like you meant what you were saying," she said. "That is all anyone can ask for." He took a sip of his drink. The bubbles nudged at his lip. On the makeshift dance floor, the head of sales was attempting to get people to link arms in a circle. It was not going well. Victoria watched them, then looked at Luke. "Dance with me," she said. He almost choked. "Here," he said. "Now." "No better time," she said. He glanced at the cluster of publishing professionals, at the strings of lights overhead, at his own shoes. "I'm not good at this," he said. "I have seen worse," she said. "You have not seen me," he said. Her eyes had that spark he recognized from editing sessions when she was about to push him past his comfort zone. "Are you going to make me ask twice?" she said. He set his glass on a nearby table. "No," he said. "Apparently I am not." They stepped out onto the open patch of floor. He put one hand on her shoulder blade, trying not to overthink where exactly that was. She set her hand on his upper arm. Their other hands met somewhere in between. The music was slow enough that he did not have to do much beyond sway and shift his weight. He could manage swaying. For a moment, all he registered was the warmth of her palm, the faint scent of something floral from her hair, the way the city lights flickered behind her. "See," she said quietly, "not so terrible. I reserve the right to reassess if I step on you," he said. "I will allow that," she said. They moved in a small circle. Above them, the strings of bulbs glowed in soft halos. When they passed under one of the brighter clusters, he could see the tiny lines at the corners of her eyes, the way her lashes cast shadows on her cheeks. He realized how little of her he had seen outside office walls. Here in this half-lit space, the distance thinned. He cleared his throat. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "You usually do," she said. "Why did you really come to my house that morning?" he said. "At 6:30. You could have waited until Monday. You could have called. You could have sent the portfolio by courier." Her gaze slid past his shoulder for a second, then back to his face. "I told you," she said. "You left something important behind. It needed to be returned." "That is the practical part," he said. "You do not do much without a practical reason. I get that. But you could have chosen a different version of practical that did not involve showing up on my doorstep while I was in a t-shirt and my kitchen looked like a toy store exploded." There was a pause as they turned. The music dipped, then rose again with the next verse. "I spent the night after your interview thinking about that story," she said finally. "Small wonders before it was everyday magic. I kept seeing that boy on the sidewalk. Your boy, who was not you, and was you looking at the cracks. I kept hearing the way you talked about stories mattering more than what they earned." He watched her mouth shape the words. "I am used to people trying to impress me," she said. "They rehearse their answers. They tell me what they think I want to hear. You talked about needing the job in a way that did not ask for pity. You talked about your daughter like she was a partner, not a burden." His throat tightened. "I wanted to know if that was real," she said. "If you still sounded like that outside my office. In your space, not mine." "So you used the portfolio as an excuse," he said. "It was a good excuse," she said. "You really did leave it." He laughed softly. "I should thank my own forgetfulness," he said. "In this one case," she said. They let the words settle between them. Her cheek was close to his shoulder now. The light caught in her hair. He was suddenly aware of how easily he could lower his head and close the remaining distance. He did not. He held the question in his chest instead, the one about what any of this meant beyond tonight, beyond launch dates and sales slides. Before he could rearrange the thought into something he might say, a ringing sound cut through the music. Someone was tapping a spoon against a glass. The room quieted in a wave. Conversations trailed off. The music volume dropped. Luke pulled back just enough to see over Victoria's shoulder. Mia stood on a chair near the display table, one hand on Amber's shoulder for balance, the other clutching an empty water glass and a spoon. Her dress flared around her legs. Her cheeks were bright with color. "Excuse me," she said into the sudden hush. "I have an announcement." For a second, no one breathed. Mia's voice hung in the air, small and clear. "I have an announcement." The spoon clinked nervously against the rim of the glass. Amber kept a steadying hand on the back of the chair. Every face on the rooftop had turned toward them. Luke felt his stomach drop to somewhere near his shoes. "Mia," he called. "Maybe sit down, honey." She pretended not to hear him. "My dad and Miss Victoria love each other," she said, "but they are too scared to say it, so I am saying it for them." The silence cracked. A burst of laughter rolled across the rooftop. followed by clapping a few whistles. Someone's delighted, "Oh wow," near the bar. Nate bent over, one hand on his knee, grinning like an idiot. Heat flooded Luke's face so fast he thought it might peel. He looked at Victoria. He had braced for a wince for tight anger, for that cool distance she used when people overstepped. He did not see any of that. She was laughing, not politely, not the small, contained version from meetings. Her head was tipped slightly back, her mouth open, eyes bright. It was the most unguarded he had ever seen her. Amber eased the glass out of Mia's hand and helped her down from the chair before she could climb onto the table. "You cannot just say things like that," Luke said weakly, as Mia trotted toward him, skirt bouncing. "Yes, I can," she said. "It is true." She planted herself between him and Victoria and looked up at both of them with the satisfied air of someone who had finally moved the plot along. "Sorry," she added to Victoria, although she did not sound sorry at all. "But you were taking forever." Victoria pressed her fingers to her mouth, still trying to get her expression under control. "Do not apologize," she said. Her voice shook a little from holding back laughter. "Thank you for your honesty." Someone from sales called out, "So is that confirmed?" and the group laughed again. Luke wanted the roof to develop a trapdoor. Nate wandered over and clinked his glass lightly against Luke's. "Kid has a sense of timing," he murmured. "You owe her." "Go away," Luke muttered. Nate grinned and did as he was told, melting back into the crowd. Music crept up again, softer this time, as people turned back to their own conversations. A low buzz of speculation rose and settled. The sharp edge of attention slid off them, leaving something softer in its wake. Mia tilted her head. "Are you mad?" she asked Victoria. "No," Victoria said at once. "I am not mad." She bent enough to be closer to Mia's eye level. The midnight blue of her dress whispered against the chair beside her. "You are not supposed to say secrets," Mia said, "but it was too big. It did not fit in my pocket." Luke tried to speak and found his throat thick. "Mia," he managed, "maybe go find Amber again, or the cake, or anything that is not here." She patted his arm. "You are welcome," she said. Then she skipped away humming, as if she had just completed a simple chore. Luke ran a hand over his face. "I am so sorry," he said to Victoria. "She hears things. She connects dots that are not there. She is 5. Victoria looked up at him. "I am sorry to tell you this," she said, "but the dots are there." His heart thudded once hard. He glanced around. People were watching in that sideways way humans have pretending not to look while very much looking. "Do you want to get out of the spotlight for a minute?" he asked. "Yes," she said. He led the way toward a quieter corner near a row of potted plants. The lights were dimmer there, the noise of the party dulled by distance and leaves. From here he could still see Mia looping around a table with Amber in low pursuit. The city lights spread out beyond the rooftop wall, a scatter of gold and red. He turned back to Victoria. "About what she said," he began. "Which part?" she asked. "She covered a lot of ground." "The part where she used the word love," he said. "Ah," she said. He swallowed. "I do not want you to feel pushed into anything," he said. "By her. By the room. By all of this." "I have been pushed in a lot of directions in my life," she said. "This is not one of them." He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "I care about you," he said. The words felt too small and too big at once. A lot. More than makes sense given how short a time this has actually been. I tried to pretend it was just gratitude. For the job, for the book, for everything you did. It is not just that. The string lights above them hummed. One nearby flickered, then steadied. He watched her face for any sign that he had misread everything. "You do not have to say anything," he added quickly. "If this is too much, if it makes your life harder, I do not want to be another problem to solve." Her eyes softened in a way he had not seen before. "You are a lot of things," she said. "You are not a problem to solve." She seemed to pick her words with care. "After Lily died," she said, "I built something very efficient. Walls, routines, expectations. I knew how to be in those. I knew how to be useful without being vulnerable." She stared past him for a moment over the edge of the building into the dark. "Then you walked into my office holding a portfolio you were afraid to open," she said. "You talked about your daughter like she was the center of your gravity. You forgot your bag because you were busy holding all your worry in both hands." He tried to picture himself as she had seen him. It made his chest ache. "I told myself I wanted to help you because your work was good," she said. "Which it was. I told myself I wanted to acquire your book because it fit a gap in the list, which it did. Those things are true." She took a step closer. The space between them shortened to a breath. "What I did not tell myself," she went on, "was that I kept thinking about the way you looked at Mia, and the way Mia looked at you. And the way it felt in your kitchen with the light coming through that terrible curtain, and the two of you standing in the middle of all that chaos making something out of it anyway. He could feel his pulse in his throat. You came to my garage, he said quietly. You let me see Lily. That is not nothing. No, she said, it is not. Are you scared? He asked. Terrified, she said without hesitation. He almost laughed. Me too, he said. She drew in a breath, held it for a count, let it go. Mia is not wrong, she said. I do love you. That has been the problem. The word landed in his chest like a stone dropping into deep water. It made ripples he had no names for. I keep thinking of what could happen, she said. Of all the ways you could go away. People get tired. People change their minds. Cars do not stop. Cells misbehave. I run contingencies for a living. I have a list of every possible exit and it terrifies me. He thought of the hospital smell she had described in the garage. Metal antiseptic orange juice. Machines humming in the dark. I am not a guarantee, he said. I cannot be. No one can. I know, she said. That is what makes this a terrible idea. And yet he said, and yet she repeated very softly. Her hand came up, hesitated, then touched his lapel, 2 fingers smoothing an invisible wrinkle. Being near you feels like standing under those strings of lights, she said. The kind that are not very bright, but you can see just enough to keep walking. It does not make the dark go away. It makes it less lonely. That was the moment he realized when something in him unclenched. I love you too, he said. He did not dress it up. He let the words be plain because he knew she trusted plain things more than polished ones. He saw how they hit her, not as a blow, more like a door opening in a room she had sealed off. Her hand slid higher to the side of his neck, fingers resting against his pulse. He did not look away. I would like very much to see what happens if we do not run from this, she said. We will get things wrong, he said. I will say the wrong thing. Mia will say too much. Work will get complicated. People will talk. They already do, she said. We cannot fix every angle and every perception, he said. We can only decide what we are to each other and to her. Her mouth quirked. Editor, she said you are getting dangerously close to a speech. He smiled. You can cut it in post, he said. She took the smallest step closer. The world narrowed to her dress, brushing his shins, the warmth of her hand on his neck, the slight hitch in her breath. Luke, she said. Yes, he said. Stop overthinking, she said. He did. He lowered his head. She lifted her chin. Their mouths found each other in a soft, unsteady kiss that deepened as the first shock dissolved. There was no orchestra swell, only the muffled thump of the party music behind them, the faint clink of glasses, the murmur of the city below, the buzz of the nearest bulb. He felt the exact moment she stopped holding back. Something in her posture changed, a subtle release. Her hand slid to his jaw. His arms went around her back, careful of the dress, then less careful because she was holding on just as tightly. When they finally parted, their foreheads stayed close. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, what he asked. Okay, that was not a terrible idea, she said. A small voice carried across the rooftop. They are kissing, Mia announced to no one in particular. Scattered applause broke out mixed with laughter. A camera flash popped from near the bar. Luke did not look to see who had taken the photo. The world could have been just the 3 of them under those lights. Victoria closed her eyes for a second, then opened them again, the corners crinkled. We have an audience, he said. We always have an audience, she said. This one is just shorter. Mia barreled toward them and flew into his side, nearly knocking him off balance. You did it, she said. You said it without me. You helped, he said. Victoria crouched a little, smoothing her dress. Mia, she said, I need to ask you something. Mia looked at her with solemn interest. Is it okay with you if I am in this with you and your dad, Victoria said. Not just at the book place, at other places too. Breakfasts, bedtimes, boring Tuesdays. Mia's answer came without pause. Yes, she said, I already put you in the picture. Victoria's throat moved once. Right, she said. You did. Mia took one of each of their hands and tugged. Come see the lights from the other side, she said. They look different. They let her pull them back toward the center of the rooftop. As they walked, Luke's fingers brushed Victoria's. She did not let go. The 3 of them crossed under a line of bulbs that hummed steadily above their heads, casting small circles of warmth on the concrete where their shadows overlapped. A year later, the house was different. It sat on a quiet street a little farther out of the city, with a maple tree in the front yard and a porch wide enough for a swing. It was not as polished as Victoria's old downtown apartment, not as worn as Luke's first place. It felt like both of them had met in the middle and stayed. On a Tuesday evening in early autumn, the living room lights were low. A lamp by the couch threw a soft circle of gold over a pile of books. a pair of sneakers, and a fox-stuffed animal whose fur had been hugged thin in places. Mia's bedroom door stood partly open down the hall. Inside, Victoria sat on the edge of the bed with a book in her lap. It was a hardcover, the jacket already a little wrinkled at the corners from being handled. The cover showed a girl standing in a doorway with light spilling around her feet. Mia lay under the blanket, hair spread on the pillow like ink. She hugged the fox across her chest. The nightlight in the corner painted a small moon on the wall. And when she looked back at the path, she could still see the glow. Even though the lantern was gone, Victoria read. Her voice had the same steady rhythm it did in meetings, but softer, shaped for a child's room instead of a conference table. She knew then that the light had never really been in the lantern. Victoria went on. It had been in the way she kept walking. Mia blinked slowly. "Did you write that part?" she asked. "We wrote it together," Victoria said. "Your dad had the first line. I fixed the part where the girl tried to explain everything." "That sounds right," Mia murmured. Victoria closed the book and smoothed her hand over the cover. "Do they live happily ever after?" Mia asked. It had become their game. Every new story, same question. Mia waited for the answer like it mattered more than the ending itself. Victoria thought for a moment. "They live truthfully ever after," she said. "Some days are loud, some are quiet, some are easy, some are not. They tell each other the truth about all of them, and they stay." Mia considered this. Her eyelids drooped. "That is better," she decided. Her words slurred at the edges. She tucked the fox under her chin and snuggled deeper into the blanket. Victoria leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Good night, Mia," she said. "See you in the morning." "See you," Mia murmured. Victoria stood turning off the lamp on the dresser. The nightlight's small glow filled the room. In its circle, the fox's button eyes caught the light for a second and then let it go. She pulled the door almost closed, leaving it open just enough for sound to travel. In the hallway, Luke leaned against the wall, arms folded loosely. "She bought it," he said quietly. "She negotiated," Victoria said. "Then she bought it." They started toward the living room together. They passed the framed print of the Everyday Magic cover, hung above a bookshelf. Next to it, in a simple frame, Mia's drawing from the Northbridge whiteboard had been flattened and smoothed, the crayon lines still bright. 3 figures under a row of crooked yellow circles. The drawing had followed them from office to moving boxes to this wall. It had not lost any color in the trip. Luke brushed his fingers along the edge of the frame. "She added a dog last week," he said. "Look at the little thing by your shoe." Victoria squinted. "That is a dog," she said. "I thought it was a very determined potato." "She told me its name is Pepper," he said. "Apparently we own an imaginary dog now." "I have had worse housemates," Victoria said. They stepped out onto the porch. The evening air was cool, smelling of damp leaves and the distant hint of someone's fireplace down the street. The porch light cast a gentle pool around the swing and the 2 chairs beside it. Above the roofline, the first stars had come out faint against the city's glow. Luke settled onto the swing. It creaked familiar now. Victoria sat beside him. The wood moved under their weight, then steadied. From here, they could see the maple branches reaching over the sidewalk. A car glided by, headlights sliding across the trunk and the edge of the porch. "Do you ever miss the city noise?" he asked. "Sometimes," she said. "Then I hear Mia snoring down the hall and you swearing at the dishwasher, and I remember I still have plenty of noise." "I do not swear at the dishwasher," he said. "I swear near the dishwasher." She smiled, the small private one she rarely used anywhere else. He let the swing move in a slow rhythm, toes brushing the porch boards. "Do you think about it?" he asked, that morning. Which morning, she said, though he could tell she already knew. "The one with the portfolio," he said. "My old house. 6:30, bad coffee, worse curtains." "Sometimes," she said, and he asked. "And I still cannot believe you answered the door with your hair doing that," she said. "That is genetics," he said. "I had no control." She rested her head against his shoulder. Her hair brushed his cheek. "I remember the light most," she said. "The way it came through that narrow window by your sink. It was not pretty. It fell on a stack of bills and a cracked mug and a small child in fox pajamas, and somehow it still felt like the right kind of morning." He pictured it. The kitchen. The mess. The shock of seeing her in his doorway. The way every direction had felt like a cliff edge. "It looked different to me," then he said. "It looked like a lot of failing at once. It looked like a place where something real was happening," she said. He let that sit for a moment. "If I had remembered the portfolio," he said finally, "you would not have come." "No," she said. "I would have put your work in a stack and read it eventually. I might have liked it. We might have worked together anyway. It would have been less messy." He waited. "I would not choose less messy," she added. He turned his head slightly so he could see her face. "You do not use that word lightly," he said. I have made my peace with certain kinds of chaos, she said. Crayon drawings on whiteboards, fox fur on my suits, someone else's books on my nightstand. He thought of her old apartment edges, sharp everything in its place. He thought of the first time he had seen his own things in this house, mixed with hers. His coffee mug next to her neat row of tea tins, her legal pad on the arm of his old couch. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Any of it? She tilted her head back, looking up at the sky. A thin cloud passed over part of it, leaving the rest clear. There are things I will always wish were different, she said. Different diagnoses, different endings. That lives in its own room. He waited. The swing rocked gently. This, she said, her voice low. No. He reached for her hand. Her fingers slid into his, fitting, in a way that felt both new and long known. You, she said after a moment. Any regrets? Only about hair choices and early photographs, he said. That is fair, she said. He breathed in. The air was cool enough to sting a little on the inhale. I used to think the worst thing that happened to me was getting left, he said. That day felt like a door slamming and locking. Everything after was just finding a way to live in the hallway. She stayed quiet, letting him find his own ending. That portfolio felt like another failure, he said. Being forgetful, being scattered. I was angry at myself for days. He felt her thumb move once across his knuckles. Now he said it feels like the part where I dropped something, so the story had a way to start. A car turned onto the street, then off. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked twice and fell silent. The number of things that had to go wrong in exactly the right order, he said. It is ridiculous. That is life, she said. Sloppy plotting, good payoffs. He laughed quietly. The editor approves, he said. In this case, she said yes. Inside, a floorboard creaked. A soft thump suggested Mia had turned over in her sleep. The porch light hummed softly above them. Luke looked at the yellow glow spilling onto the steps, at the way it pooled on the walkway, before fading into the dark. Do you ever think certain things are meant to get lost? He asked. Just long enough to be found again at the right moment. Victoria followed his gaze. I think some things do not make sense until you pick them up the second time, she said. Or the third. The portfolio, he said. The portfolio, she agreed. And a few other things. She leaned into him a little more. They sat like that, watching the slow movement of light and shadow on the street, listening to the small sounds of their house. The heater kicking on the fridge, humming the faint breath of a child asleep under a worn blanket down the hall. Above the porch, the bulb glowed steady and unremarkable, doing exactly what it had been wired to do. Beyond it, the sky held more distant lights, colder and harder to touch. Luke watched both for a long moment. He thought of all the things he had misplaced in his life, the items, the chances, the people, the versions of himself. He thought of what was here now, close enough to feel. Sometimes he realized the things that go missing do not go that far. They wait on a table, on a whiteboard, on a doorstep at 6:30 in the morning. They wait for someone to notice them and pick them up with a different kind of hand. He shifted on the swing and pressed his shoulder lightly against Victoria's. She laced their fingers tighter. The porch light shone on bright enough to make the front steps clear, not bright enough to erase the night. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.